Episode number 7 of How to Ace Your Exams. Okay, in this episode, what I wanted to talk about was something that I found when I was checking my daughter's past papers and talking to students online, either by email or by Skype or Google Hangout, about how they can prepare themselves for their exams. And one of the key things that really stands out for me is understanding the terms, the exam terms that are required of you to actually answer a question. And what I wanted to do in this section is just focus on some of those key terms and getting you to understand as to why they are important. I'm definitely going to list some of them below and I'm going to put it on the screen, but getting to understand what is being asked of you. So I thought I'd have a few here. I've got a list here of exam instruction words, and I wanted you to be able to get a sense of what is being asked from you from the examiner before you go in to take the exam. So let's start with the first one. First one I'm going to choose from my list is analyze. Actually, why is my list here? I'm going to take it here. Analyze. And what is analyze? To analyze means to take apart an idea, a concept, or a statement and examine and criticize its subparts in detail. So you have to use a method and you have to be really logical, but you have to do it and criticize and take it apart bit by bit. So when you're asked to analyze something, that's what you're going to do. You're going to take apart the idea or a statement and make sure you break it down so it makes a heck of a lot of sense to the examiner while he or she is marking. Second one I wanted to give you was assess. So if you're asked to assess something, what you want to do is you want to describe both the positive and negative sides to the question or the statement that's being asked and consider how useful it is. So if it's going to, it's got to be actually useful. It's got to be, so say for example, somebody said, assess why solar power will be really beneficial to countries who don't have electricity grids. You will then have to go and look at what's the good and the bad, what's the negative, how is it going to be able to make a contribution, and how important is it? That's what you're really aiming to do. How important is it when you are going to be asked to assess something? Third one I'm going to get to you, and this one always kind of like confused me when I was in school, but I had to think about it, is criticize. So to criticize something, what you need to do is you really need to point out the mistakes or the weaknesses, as well as the favorable sides as well. But you want to be able to, when you criticize something, what you want to do is you look at the weak points. So say for example, if you were doing history or politics, the question that might be asked you is critique why a blanket view of anti-immigration will not work in a country. So say for example, you might start talking about trade. If a country's seen as totally against immigrants, it may be very difficult for them to trade. It may be very difficult for people within the home market to understand how to connect with people outside of that home country. And you can start picking apart all the different arguments and the weaknesses bit by bit. But that's what you're going to do when you are criticizing. You are taking it apart, and sometimes you can see the positive side as well, but mainly you are taking it apart to break down what that statement or position is and why you would disagree with it. Here's a fourth one, compare. Compare, I know it just sounds really obvious, but some people make the mistake. What they don't do is they don't take two arguments and put them side by side to see what the similarities are. That's what you're doing when you compare. Like compare the market. Meerkat, no? That didn't work? Okay, let's leave it. So if you're going to compare something, what you want to do is you want to put them side by side to see what the similarities are and how it's going to work. And then obviously you give a quite objective answer as a result. What other one have I got here? Define. Give the meaning for. That's all it is. Somebody said, ask you to define something. You need to give the meaning as to what it is and why. Well, actually, not even the why, but you just need to define what it actually means. So you need to have an understanding of definition. Describe. Give details of processes and properties, and all it is basically when you've been given that an information about a specific topic. What you need to do is you need to kind of like go into detail as to how step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, how it actually works. That's what description is all about. Evaluate. Woo. Remember this, talking to my daughter about. It's quite similar. It's like discussion. But what you need to do is when you evaluate, and it's a bit like criticize as well, but it's more positive. So what you need to do when you're evaluating something, you're looking at it in its fullness. You're looking at the full context, and what you want to do is say, right, I've looked at the information you've given me. I've weighed up all the facts, and here is my conclusion. Okay. Let's see what we have here. Review. If you're asked to review, then what you want to do is you want to analyze, and then you want to comment on something afterwards. Okay? That's what you want to do. And I'm just trying to think of what other one I got on here. Last one, summarize. When you're asked to summarize something, don't give details. You're asked to give the outline. You're asked to give the main points. When you're asked to summarize, you can write forever, but you really need to be able to just give the brief points that are needed for that. So I hope some of those explanations will help. I'm also going to put up a bit of a link to a site where you can get a lot more of these in detail, where you can understand what the examiner is asking you when you're going to take that test. What does that word in front of that question, whether it's a problem question, a case study, or a full essay question, what is it that you need to do or understand in order to be able to ask that question? So I hope it has helped, and as always, all the best. I've been Dave Mack. Peace.